Hi, everyone. Welcome. I see numbers are increasing. That's a good sign. Hello, Ana. Hi, Ignacio, Nick. Wow. Okay. Hi, everyone. I see the chat now is flying. Can I check that everything is working? So if you can hear me okay, if you can see the presentation okay, and if you can see me, that's the least important thing. Can you type yes in the chat box? Yes, yes. Okay, that's great. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We are going to wait for 1 more minute, maybe. I see, wow, from Peru, hi, Argentina, Mexico, wow. Spain, hello, Italy, Holland, the Canary Islands, Ecuador, wow. It's lovely to have so many of you coming from the very different places, Senegal, France, wow, Portugal, and Chile, Brazil. Okay, Morocco, nice. Germany. Right. Okay, I think we can maybe start. And I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Victoria, and I'm part of the assessment services team. I'm based in Madrid. And today I will be telling you about B2 first, reading and use of English, and also the listening paper. I would like this session to be as interactive as possible. I've got my colleagues here with me in the chat box. They will be checking everything is working okay, checking you don't have any problems. I would like this session to be as interactive as possible, so please use the chat. I will be asking you questions, asking for your ideas, so please use the chat for that. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A. Thank you very much for submitting your questions when you registered. They've been very useful, and they really helped me to put together the session. So a bit of housekeeping. To start with, your microphone and camera are turned off automatically. But as I said, please use the chat box. And when you have a comment, if you can select everyone. So in the chat box, you will see two, and then a little drop-down menu. If you can select everyone, so everyone can benefit from your ideas, your comments, it would be fantastic. I see that there are a lot of people from many different places, many different countries, nationalities, and what we all share is that we speak English. So please use English when you are using the chat box and the Q&A. This is a teaching, learning situation. So please don't worry about making mistakes. It's all about communication. As I said, use the Q&A for your questions. I will get to them at the end of the session. We will have 15 minutes for that. The event will be recorded, the session will be recorded, and we will share the link with you in the follow-up email. You can expect it towards the end of March. Okay, we're going to wait until the end of the series. You know that this week the focus is on B2. Next week, we will be talking about C1, and we will finish with C2 proficiency. So at the end of March, we will be sending the follow-up email with the recordings. Throughout the session, I will be telling you about some useful resources, some things that you may want to use to get ready for the exam. And I will be using QR codes that you can scan on the slides. My colleagues will also be sharing the links in the chat box, but there will also be a handout with useful links at the end of the session for you to download. And as I said, this is a learning, teaching situation. So please let us know what you thought about the session when we finish, and complete the survey at the end so I can take on board your feedback to make the next sessions better. Right, so I don't know if you have any questions. I think this is pretty much everything I wanted to cover in the housekeeping. So I think we are good to start. There are quite a few of us, more than 600 people. So I really hope this is useful to everyone. Right, so what are we going to do today? We are going to have a brief overview of the B2 First for Schools exam, and we will be talking also very briefly about recognition. Then I will go through the top tips, the main ideas for success for the reading and use of English paper. Then I will move on to listening. Throughout the session, I'm going to be sharing resources, making recommendations, and then we will finish with a Q&A. Right, so B2 First for Schools. I'm not going to talk too much about this, because if you're preparing for the exam, I'm sure you know this better than me. So 4 papers: reading and use of English, listening, writing, and speaking. The main update that I would like to share at this point is that in the writing, there used to be a set text option in part 2. In the writing paper part 2, this set text option was removed in January. Okay, so it's no longer available. Then I would also like to mention that there are 2 versions of the exam. As you see, I've been referring to B2 First for Schools and B2 First. And there are 2 formats as well in which you can take the exam. You can take it in paper, and you can also take it on a computer. So in terms of the versions and the formats, they are, of course, for schools is the topics are more suitable for students of school age students, and B2 First may be more for adult students. And then in terms of the format, well, it depends on your preference, really, if you prefer to sit the exam paper, or if you prefer to do it on a computer. But in terms of the level of the exam, it is exactly the same. In terms of the recognition of the exam, is exactly the same. So it's really depending on maybe your age and then your preference. What I really recommend is that whatever version you choose, whatever format you choose, that you become familiar with the exam beforehand, because we always do better, I think, if we know what to expect, and we can make the most of our abilities if we know what is coming. So please take the time to scan the QR code and download the handbook for teachers, where you will be able to find a lot of information about the exams. And the other QR code, this one that you have here, is in case you want to have more information about the removal of the set text option. Okay, so as I said, both options, both formats have the same recognition. And this leads me to the first question that you asked, and it had to do with taking the exam and not meeting the the score to achieve the level. Okay, so the target level. You know that B2 First for schools and B2 First have the B2 as their target level. So if you don't reach that pass mark, what happens? Well, here you can see the graph, the diagram with B2 and B2 First for school, B2 First and B2 First for schools results. And then the different certificates you can get. You can also get a certificate with grade B. So for B2 First and B2 First for schools, the pass mark is 160 on the Cambridge English scale, which is a continuum from 80 to 230, and which shows the logical progression throughout our exams and the levels. So if you get between 160 and 179, you will get a B2 certificate, B2 First certificate. Okay, on the certificate, it doesn't specify whether it's for schools or standard, because really the recognition is the same. So if you get between 160 and 179, you will get a B2 certificate, grade C or grade B, depending on your score. If you do very well and you reach at least 180, you will be obtaining a grade A. Okay, and this grade A on the B2 First or B2 First for schools exam it means or represents that you have achieved a C1 level. So you will get a certificate showing this, okay, that you took the exam, the B2 First exam, but you achieved a Council of Europe level C1. What is the other option? The other option is that you didn't reach 160, you remained below that level. And then what you have is that you achieved, you showed that your ability is at B1. Okay, and in that case, you will receive a certificate, but showing a Council of Europe level B1. Right, so these are the different options that you have. On our side, we are going to issue a certificate if you show an ability at B1, at B2, or at C1. Because we are confident that, you know, the exam allowed you to show that level of ability. In terms of the recognition, it's important that you check with the recognizing organization that is going to accept your certificate, because there are different requirements. These requirements are set independently, and it's important that you are aware of these requirements before registering for the exam. Okay, and the most important thing really is that you are comfortable with the exam that you are taking. So if you think that your level is B2, go for B2 First. But if you think your level is C1, go for C1 Advanced. And if your level is B1, go for B1 Preliminary. The important thing is that really you are comfortable with the exam that you are taking. If you want to have more information, you can access it through the QR codes on the screen, and find out about the number of recognizing organizations that accept our certificates, okay, and our exams. As you can see, our exams enjoy a wide range of recognition coming from higher and further education institutions, employers, companies, governments, ministries from really many countries worldwide. Okay, so this is because, of course, our exams are aligned to the Common European Framework of Reference and are based on our experience and the research that we are constantly carrying out. Okay, I see David is popping the links in the chat box. Thank you for this. Okay. And I will try to talk a bit more slowly. Yes, sorry. Right. Okay. So this is a very brief overview of the exam, the recognition it enjoys, and now I will be focusing on reading and the reading and the use of English paper. Okay. So the reading and use of English paper, the duration is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it has 7 parts. It includes a range of tasks that allow you to show different types of abilities. Multiple choice, open close, word formation. Don't worry about the terminology. I'm going to go through it in detail. I will be focusing not on all the parts of the exam because time is limited, but I will focus on the ones that I think may be more interesting, and also not only based on my experience as a teacher, but also having a look at the questions that you have posted. Right, so we're going to focus on part 3, which is the word formation. Is this text that has some words at the end of some lines. And what do we need to demonstrate in this part of the exam, in part 3? Well, what we need to show is that we have vocabulary knowledge that includes word formation, so prefixes, suffixes, the use of compounds as well, that we can understand sentence structure, so we know when to use a verb or when we need a noun. That we also have an understanding of the text that allows us to choose maybe a negative prefix or a plural form, and then of course that the spelling is right. So let's look at the approach to this part of the exam, and then we will look at an example. So how should we approach part 3? The most important thing that we do first is that we read the whole text. Okay, we need to read it quickly. Okay, we cannot read it in too much detail, but just read it quickly to get a general idea of what it is about. Okay, we need to focus on meaning at this point. Then, when we have read the text and we have an idea of what it is about, we can focus on each of the gaps. And for that, we will need to read the whole sentence and maybe the paragraph. Okay, so we will need to look at what comes before and after the gap. Once we have done this for each of the different gaps and we have all the different answers, it's a good idea to read the whole text again quickly, so we can have an idea and see, and we can check that the text makes sense. Okay, that what we have written, the words that we have chosen really make sense when we are reading the text. So let's look at an example here. So this example is taken from Test and Train, is one of our learning tools, and as such, it gives us some tips. Here, for example, if you click on the light bulb, you will see that it is advising you to read the whole text quickly to see what it is about. Right, so here you can see that the options are displayed, okay? The correct answer is displayed. And this is because I wanted to show you some examples of what I meant, okay? In some cases, we've got words such as vision here. And what we need to do is to make an internal change to the word, okay? So in this case, because we've got abilities here and the gap is right before, we may think we need an adjective, right? Which is the correct option here. Then in this case, we've got the word research, but it is followed by a verb in plural, okay, with have. So this is telling us that what we need is the subject, and that this subject should be plural because we've got have discovered afterwards. And then here, unaware, we are choosing a negative prefix to make this word, okay? And why negative? Well, because we've got the but here showing contrast, right? So these are examples of what you need to look at. In some cases, the key is going to be very, very close to the gap. So right before, right after, and the gap. But in some other cases, you will need to read the whole sentence to get the idea of or to understand really what you need to complete the gap successfully. So these are just some examples of what the type of changes that you may need to make to the different words. And then, as I said, super important to read everything quickly to make sure that you understand the text, that the text flows, and that it makes sense. Right, so we are moving on to the reading and use of English part 4, which is the keyword transformation, you know, where you have the leading sentence, the keyword, and then the second sentence for you to complete. So what are we looking for in this part of the exam? What we're looking for is to test your flexibility and range when you are expressing meaning in different ways. And there is also a focus on grammar, vocabulary, collocations, and so on. Let's look at a bit more at the focus and a bit more detail. So these are some of the words that you may need to use in this part of the exam. So articles, verbs, thinking about auxiliaries, verb tenses, passive voice, conditionals, fixed phrases as well, linkers, prepositions, pronouns. So you can see there is a wide range of words that you may need to include in this part of the text, but as you can see, they are kind of grammar words rather than content words. So let's look at how to approach part 4. What are the key aspects to bear in mind in this part 4? Well, the most important thing is that you read the first sentence carefully. The second sentence must mean exactly the same thing as the first sentence. So it's important that you check that the content which has already been covered outside the gap. So you check what is in the leading sentence and what is in the second sentence. Okay, so unusual names, we've got names, unusual, characters in his stories, Paolo is also here, often. So really what is missing is thinks of. And then you have the keyword that you mustn't change. So what do you think would be the correct answer for this gap? Okay, Nancy was came first. Well done. Comes up with Paola. Excellent, Isabel. Well done. Comes up with fantastic. Blas as well. Well done, Emma. Okay, so correct. Super fast. Very well. You're ready. Okay, so right, so you came up with the correct answer. And what do you need to do before you move on? Important maybe to ask yourself these two questions. Have I changed the keyword? Have I written between 2 and 5 words? Okay, because this is the limitation, right? You need to write between 2 and 5 words. And I would maybe add, have I repeated or have I included any words which are already in the sentence? Because this is usually the case. Sometimes we are so into the exam that we may repeat a word and we don't realize. Okay, so these are important questions to ask yourself before moving on. So indeed, comes up with is the correct option. And as you know, as you may know, in this part of the exam, you can get up to 2 marks per correct answer. And this is, and we say up to 2 because the answer is kind of divided into 2 units. Okay, and here, as you can see, in the little feedback box, you will get 1 mark for comes up and then another mark for with. Okay, so first you need to identify the first part and then the other part with. Okay, the 2 parts that make up this answer. So something important to bear in mind that, for example, here probably you wouldn't make the mistake because already comes with the S. But in some cases, you may see that people forget the S. And then, although they have come up because they are missing the S, they wouldn't get any points for these parts of the answer. So really, it's important that you pay attention to detail and that you are sure of what you are writing. Okay, so now I'm going to combine the theory, not the theory, but my recommendations with some questions for you. And there were quite a lot of questions about time management and how to effectively manage time, especially in the reading, the use of English parts, techniques to save time, address the reading part correctly, because at times answers are tempting and more than one answer seems correct. So how can we help? What can we do to manage our time better and more effectively? Well, I'm going to answer these with a question for you, and I would like you to stop for a moment and think about what in your opinion, what good readers do. So if you can tell me in the chat box, if you can think of a good reader, a person who reads effectively and efficiently, what can they do? And Nancy Maria says skim and scan. Well done. Yes. Anything else? Read through the text, get the general idea from Lisbeth. Miriam, underline the most important things. Read fast. Don't read fast, read carefully. Well, a combination of both, probably. Okay, read the question so you know what you are reading for. Yes. Trying to paraphrase. Okay, get the keywords. Identify the essential part of the text. Okay, underline keywords. So a lot of underlining. Good, good, good. Okay. Read for the gist. Main idea, skimming, stepping into the same idea, imagine the scene. Okay, well done, yes. Indeed. You were mentioning reading quickly, reading carefully, scanning, skimming. Yes, I think the key is to be able to decide on the best sub-skill depending on the task. Indeed, there will be times when you will need to read carefully, but some of the times you will need to read quickly to get a general idea of what the text is about, or to try to identify where specific information is being mentioned. So really, the crucial aspect is to decide on what reading sub-skill to use. When to use careful reading, which is linear, which is slow, which is going to give you an accurate idea of main ideas, supporting detail, and then also combine it with fast reading when necessary. So skimming, reading quickly to get a general idea what the text is about, scanning, reading quickly to try to identify specific information, specific data, and then search reading, which is also reading quickly, but trying to identify areas where a topic is being discussed. Okay, so the combination of both, being able to know when to use which one is probably the key. What for sure you won't be able to do is to read carefully all the different texts of the exam. What we want to, at this level, you should be able to choose between careful reading and fast reading. So that's why time is limited and often feels very short. But it's because of that, because you are not supposed to be reading everything carefully. You are supposed to combine fast reading with careful reading. What other things, what other abilities do good readers have? Well, they can recognize paraphrasing. You have mentioned these. Good readers can understand synonyms. They can identify synonyms, different ways of expressing the same idea. And I have to say that this is not only about reading. This is also very useful when listening. This is also very useful for writing and speaking, to show that you have a wide range of structures, of course, suitable for the level. Good readers also understand referencing. What is that? The use of pronouns. Okay, she, when referring to Victoria, so you don't repeat it again. Her, so any use of pronouns is also something very important to understand the structure of a text, and it's therefore something that readers need to do well. Also work out meaning of unknown words. There is always going to be a word that you don't understand, for sure. I think this is also the case in your mother tongue. But the important thing is that you decide if this word is vital to understand the main message, and if so, if you can try to work out the meaning of unknown words based on the context, based maybe on the type of word it is, if it's a noun, if it's a verb, if it has a negative prefix, and if you decide that they are not useful to understand the message, then you happily ignore them and you continue reading. Okay, more questions coming from you. Tips and techniques for the part 6 and 7. Part 6 is the one where some sentences have been removed. And part 7 has a longer text broken into different chunks, different paragraphs, or different shorter texts and questions for you to match. So how should we approach part 6? We start in the same way as in the previous part 3, I think it was. Read the text, ignore the gaps to get a general idea of what it is about. Then focus on the first gapped paragraph. Read it carefully, look at the words before and after the gap. Go through the different options to see which one fits. You have to do this quickly. And then try to identify words that connect the option, that's the sentence, and the paragraph. Then you go, once you have done this with the different gaps, I'm sorry, Manuel. It is challenging. It's important that you think, okay, the extra sentence, the one I haven't used, why doesn't it fit? Okay, so you have also, you devote some time to think about why it doesn't fit. And finally, that you read the text again with all the different sentences that you have included, and that you check, does it make sense? Does it flow? Yes. Okay, I can move on. Let's look at an example of one of the least favorites of your least favorite parts of the exam, from what I can see here. Okay, so you've got the text with gaps, and you have the sentences which have been removed, and of course are not in the right order. And we're going to focus on the first paragraph with the gap, and then we're going to go through the options. And option E got our attention. Okay, and we're going to try to identify words that could connect this sentence with our paragraph. Right, so we've got here the use of he, here we've got him, it's, which could be referring to the unexpected, affects us the most, which could be a way of saying critical factor. Right, so these are the clues, the hints that are giving us, the text is giving us to tell us this is the correct option. Okay, so of course, it's important that you get a general idea of what the text is about. And then when you are going through the sentences, you go through the sentences quickly. And then is when you go into the detail and you read carefully to try to identify these words, these hints that are telling you that this is the correct option. Part 7, questions, longer text or shorter texts. What do we need to do here? We need to find specific information, which could be anywhere in the texts. And as Abril said, we need to underline keywords in the 10 questions. It is very important. We are not going to read 10 times. Okay, this is very time consuming. So it's important that we underline the keywords and that we are ready to identify paraphrasing. Okay, so we're going to be searching for meaning, not words. Okay, sometimes when you see exactly the same word in the questions and in the text, maybe you should be a bit, okay, let's see. Let's wait and see if this is the correct answer, because it may be tempting, but maybe it's not the correct answer. Yes, I will give you an example in a minute. So here we've got our example, part 7, questions, texts. What do we do? As Abril said, we're going to identify keywords. And then we're going to go through the, we are going to identify keywords for all the questions. And then we will quickly go through the texts, quickly, okay? Scanning just to see where we can find something that is being mentioned there. Right, so we've got our paragraph. And we've got satisfaction. It was really rewarding. Okay. Better performance, to see myself improving. Okay. Determination. Okay. She was trying to gain confidence. She was building her experience by tackling more challenging waves. Okay. Faster, more powerful, more dangerous. Okay. So she kept going, okay, despite the challenges. And as you can see in this text, we don't see any of the words in the questions, but what we see is that the paragraph is paraphrasing the keywords in the question. Right, so this is just an example of how we can approach this task maybe in an effective way. More questions for you, from you actually. During the exam, do we have extra time to fill in the answer sheets? Well, you will see. Okay, in the instructions, you will have this information. You must complete the answer sheet within the time limit. Okay, so there will always be very clear instructions about how and when to complete the answer sheet. Right, so if you don't remember because you are nervous, it's a stressful situation, we all know, so don't worry, it will be there for you. More questions. There was a question about read and improve, and also questions about how to improve skills faster, books, platforms that we would recommend, especially if you are not very interested in reading. Okay, we've got this platform, Read and Improve. And as you can see here, once you log in, it is free. Okay, you can choose the CFR level and you can choose different texts. Here, for example, you've got one on carbon emissions. And then the good thing is that it is a learning tool. So you can hover over the text and get information about the word class, the definition with examples, words that usually go with these words to develop the knowledge of this vocabulary. And then you can also write a summary and get instant feedback. And the texts have an indication of the level, the CFR level. Okay, so you can get a text that is suitable for your level. And if you want to access this tool, it is here. You will need to register or write and improve and use the same logins. Everything is explained on the website. But if you have any questions, let us know. And then there were quite a lot of questions about how to practice vocab and grammar and language at such high levels. Well, you can practice vocabulary using, for example, English vocabulary in use. It is one of our learning tools, learning material, and there you can find a variety of topics, and also you can practice or improve your knowledge of word formation, compound words, phrasal verbs, varieties of English. So there is a lot there for you. And the good thing is that it is at the right level of ability, which is sometimes challenging when you get to higher levels of ability. You have the explanation and then practice, which is connected to the theory. So that's an option. And of course, I would recommend reading a lot. Okay, and when reading, trying to understand also, or not understand, but be aware of certain aspects that are involved in knowing a word. Okay, so when we know words, what do we mean by knowing a word? It means that we know all its forms. It doesn't mean that we know how to build related words, which would be very, very useful for part 3. That we know how it is used, when it is appropriate, how it relates to other words, how it collocates, if we can spell it, if we can pronounce it correctly. So there are a lot of aspects that we need to understand. Of course, some aspects
Hello. Hi, everyone. It looks like Victoria has some IT connection issues. So she's going to connect again in a few minutes. Please bear with us while she's sorting out her connection. We're very sorry about that. So it happens a lot, but she should be back with us within a minute. Thank you for your participation. It's amazing to see this engagement and all the questions. It's a very lively session, so it's great. Thank you. And as I said, Victoria should be back in a few moments. She's connecting again and should appear in a sec. So we will resume the session very shortly. Thank you all. Yes, it's a great opportunity. It's great to have an expert such as Victoria to take us through all these tips and resources. And we're very pleased that you're enjoying the session. We will record, we'll send a recording, we'll send you a handout as well with lots of like tips and links to all the tools that Victoria shared. You will receive that after our sessions. Hello, David. Thank you for joining.
I just thought I'd take advantage while Victoria's reconnecting. A couple of questions in the chat which I might answer.
Thank you.
Live rather than sort of typing, so I'm getting tired of typing. One of the questions is about reading and use of English, whether it's a good idea to start with the reading paper. The exam is designed so that the reading texts are at the end because they're the longer texts. And the temptation, if you start with the reading paper, if you start with the reading texts, is that you spend too long on those texts because they're longer and more complicated, and then you don't have time to do the use of English paper or the use of English part. So the idea is it's designed in a logical progression of difficulty. So it's really designed to start at the beginning and work through. You can decide whatever works best for you as you practice, as you work through the tests. You see which you like best, which you find easier, which you find more difficult. But it's designed, the study has told us that's the logical format for the test. Yeah, sorry, it's a British accent, but
Hello, I'm going to join as well, if that's okay, because I can throw some questions, some really easy questions at you, David, that I can see that we can answer straight away.
I like the easy ones.
We like the easy questions. This may be a stupid question. No such thing as a stupid question.
No,
first of all,
just stupid answers.
Exactly.
Which I'm quite good at.
Are we allowed to use dictionaries during the exam?
No.
Nice and easy one. I told you it'd be an easy one.
No, in fact, if you're using a computer-based test, the system will actually lock down your computer, so you can't access anything else which is on the computer. So no dictionary, sorry.
Perfect. That's that question done. There's also one here, nice and quick one. Is there an age limit to sit the B2 first for schools?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? No. There isn't an age limit. Actually, there were various questions about what's the difference. The difference is the format is the same, exactly the same. Now that we've taken out the set text, I think the only difference between B2 First for Schools is that you may find that there's a story in B2 First for Schools, and you may find that there's a report in B2 First. That's the only difference in the writing paper. Everything else is exactly the same. And no, there's no age limit. It's just B2 First for Schools is designed with topics which are more accessible for school-age students. And now Victoria's back.
She's back. We were just doing a little bit of Q&A while you were coming back, Victoria.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm going to disappear again.
Okay. Sorry. Right. So super quickly, apologies for this. I'm moving on to listening. And I'm coming back with a question for you about the challenges that you face when listening in English, if you can tell me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pablo, Alma. Okay, so any challenges that you face when it is too fast? Yes, speed. Everything seems to be connected, accents, indeed. Yes, so you've mentioned all of it, connected speech, accent, intonation, what it implies, colloquial use of expressions as well, of language, deciding what to focus on, the complexity, also of the task in itself. So these are the challenges. And now let's see the tasks, the different tasks in the listening paper. There are 4 parts, and the duration is 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers. Some words are not pronounced at all. At least this is the impression that we get. Okay, so questions from you. What would be the top 5 tips for the listening test? And if we can go through some of the problems that you may have, the challenges that you may have. Well, key aspects to bear in mind in the multiple choice tasks, because we don't have like a solution for everything. Well, things that you need to bear in mind is that there are distractors. These are the options which are not correct in a multiple choice. What you hear is not what you read. So again, we are tapping into the idea of paraphrasing. I'm going to switch off my camera, okay, just for connection purposes, because my internet is not behaving today, but I'm still here. And then cognitive load. What is this? What does it mean? It means that there is a lot going on in your head. Okay, you have to listen, you have to read, you have to make decisions. So there is a lot going on. Okay, a lot of brain activity. So how can we approach multiple choice tasks? Well, important that we manage our time wisely, that we use preparation time to read the instructions and the questions, and that we think about the topic. That we use our time well, in the sense that we use maybe the first time to listen, to choose the best option, what we think is the best option, and the second time we listen to check, or maybe to answer the question we weren't able to answer in the first listening, first time the recording was played. What we hear is not what we read. How can we solve this challenge? We need to be ready to recognize paraphrasing. We need to know this is going to happen. Try not to focus on the words. Think about the meaning, the idea behind the words. And how can we prepare using the audio script? So here we've got a question the audio script, and how can we decide on the correct answer? Everything is going to be mentioned. Okay, so doubtful, it will be popular. Heard loads of people want to get involved. Unsure why it is needed. It will be great to have it here. Small towns don't have their own club. More kids will get interested. And then reluctant to joining. I'm still with the one I started within the city. I'm not sure. So this is giving us the key. All three options will be mentioned, but it's important for you to be ready for that and try to listen carefully to the key information that is going to give you the clue, the hint, the final hint to choose the correct answer. In the sentence completion tasks, answers appear in the recording in the same order as in the task. Okay, so you can keep an idea of what is coming. Remember that in this specific case, you mustn't change the words that you hear. Okay, so no paraphrasing here on your side, just write what you hear. And you're not expected to use more than a word or a short phrase. Okay, so nothing very long and important. And you need to keep track of the text and the recording. But because the answers are in the same order, it will be easier for you. Let's look at an example of a sentence completion task. Okay, so here we've got a gap. We're going to look at what comes before and what comes afterwards. So we've got word, describe. So the words that are used to describe are usually adjectives. And then we've got a lot of adjectives here. Short, funny, spot, impressive. But only one refers to their appearance out of the water on dry land. Okay, so this is the key. More questions from you. Is it hard to understand accents? You often have problems. This is what you have mentioned. Well, for this, we are going to refer to the Common European Framework. Okay, accent is mentioned for the first time at C1. So at B2, the use of accents is going to be very, very gentle. Okay, nothing too difficult. Okay, nothing too extreme that could prevent you from understanding. Of course, it's important that before listening, that you think about what you are going to hear, the topic, using the questions, the instructions, so you know what to expect and what to listen for. I think this is going to help you identify words, even if you are not very familiar with the accent. And of course, practice. Okay, with learning material, test and train, exam lived, virtually anywhere, and also with authentic material with different accents. Australian, American, British, try to listen to as many resources as possible. Every day, a little bit makes more of a difference than a lot on very rare occasions. Free materials, Fatima, all of them pretty much are free materials except for test and train, but the rest are free. And if you want to have more advice, get more advice, find out more about how to develop your listening skills, your reading skills, please check out these guides. You have the QR codes here, and also check our website. The QR code is here. Because here you will find everything that is available for you to become familiar with the exam. Okay. And again, if you want to check the link for test and train, it is here. Don't worry about the links, okay, because we will share them in the handout that is coming in a few slides. Okay, I'm nearly there. If you also want to access English grammar in use, you can also click on this link. right? In case you want to practice your grammar, your vocabulary. If you've got special requirements, there were also questions about special requirements. Check our website. There is a lot that we can offer to try to adapt to your needs. So please check it out. And if you have any questions, check with your exam center, with your teachers. They will be able to help you. More questions coming from you. There were questions about how long you need to prepare for a test. And as you can see here in these references, there is quite a range, right? But really, it is because it depends. It depends on your level. It depends on how much time you've got available to study on your own. It depends on the training that you receive. So really, the answer is it depends on your situation. No, of course, 120 hours in a month. I don't think that's possible. But yes, I think this was thinking more about a year and a bit, some maybe even 2 years. Okay, so it really depends. Questions about exam day. How much time do we get for the exam? How long is the exam? Are we allowed to go to the bathroom during the exam? Can we drink water? Well, all this information is included in the information for candidates, with information about what you can bring to your desk. You cannot bring food. You can bring a clear plastic bottle of water. You are allowed to go to the toilet, of course, during breaks and during the exam. You will need someone, an invigilator will need to go accompany you to the bathroom, to the door, to the bathroom, and that time that you use, that's time that you will not be able to use for the exam. Headphones during the listening exam. If you are sitting the exam on a computer, you will have headphones. If you are sitting the exam a paper-based format, in some cases you will have headphones. It's something that you need to check with your exam center. Information for candidates. These are the QR codes. Again, if in case you want to scan them now and get the answers to your questions. And I think that's all, okay, in terms of the content I needed to go through. Sorry, it was a bit rushed towards the end, especially because of my technical issues. But I hope everything was clear. And maybe we can go on to the Q&A. First, the satisfaction survey. This is the QR code as well. Scan the QR code and download your handouts. I think we haven't missed any links, so all of them will be there for you to check them later. About the number of hours per week, I wouldn't be able to give you an answer, but I definitely think that if you make it more like a routine and maybe you don't need to do a lot every day. We are all very busy. We have a lot going on in our lives, but certainly I think is the routine, the consistency, the being persistent at what you are doing, I think is what is more important. The guides are for free, okay? The guides for listening, the guides for reading. We will talk on Thursday about the guides for writing. They are all free material available on our website. If you're studying on your own, for sure, maybe on your own, yes, for sure, a learning tools such as Test and Train or the in-use products are for sure good complements to your learning and your training.
We're good with the survey, Victoria. We can go directly.
Perfect.
All good, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Aurélie. Right, so if we take the B1 exam, but we get a very good score, can I get a B2 certificate? Fatima, Susana, it works in exactly the same way, right? So if you sit the B1 preliminary for schools or B1 preliminary and you get to 160, we're going to give you a certificate saying that you sat B1 preliminary, but you got a Council of Europe level B2. Okay, so it's not a B2 first certificate because you didn't sit that exam, but it is a B2 certificate. You would need to check with the university, the school, the company. You want to present that certificate to check if they understand, if they accept that as evidence of a B2 level. Okay, it's important that you check because, as I said before, recognizing organizations make their own decisions, right, about what they accept and what they don't. So it's important that you know beforehand so you are making the best use of your time and your money. There was a question also about time of the different parts of the exam. There is no specific part mentioned, so I think go to the handbook for teachers, check our website, and you will be able to find all the information about time. In terms of materials available, I've shared a lot of free material, some material that it's paid for. So you will see it is very, very evident. Test and Train is paid for, use is paid for, but the rest of the materials are free for you to use. Is there expiry date on the certificate? No. On our side, certificates don't expire. They don't have an expiry date, as you say. But again, it's important for you to check with the university, with the school, with the company, if they accept a certificate which is 2 years old, 3 years old, 10 years old. Okay, for us, it is a certificate for life, but it's important that you check this with the institution that is going to accept it. Marta is asking about finishing some parts. You can manage your time within one paper. You can manage your time as you wish. Okay, so of course in the listening, the recording is guiding you, but in the reading and the use of English paper, in the writing paper, you manage your time how you consider most appropriate. Some people prefer to go to the easiest parts and get them out of the way, so they can feel more confident to go to the parts that they find more challenging. Other people prefer to focus on the most challenging parts while they are fresh. So really, it depends. It depends on you, and it's important that you find your approach before the exam. There is a question about new resources, books available, and our website being up to date? I think so. I think everything is up to date. We try to keep it as up to date as possible. So yes, indeed, if you want to check the resources available, go to the this section here. Sorry, okay, this one, okay, the B2 first, or B2 first for schools preparation, and there you will find everything that is available. Any books to improve reading? I think it's very important that you are aware of the different sub-skills, skimming, scanning, search reading, careful reading. This is probably something that your teacher will be able to help with. You need to be aware of the use of them, and then read as much as you can, read as many types of texts as you can, because this is going to help you the most, I think. Once you become aware of the different sub-skills, which is maybe not that automatic, something that we don't do as easily or naturally in a foreign language, I think the best thing you can do is reading. Lingua Skill exam is a different test. It has its own format, and if you want to check its format, maybe you can, my colleagues can drop the link in the chat box for you to check it out. There is a question about choosing the level. If you are sure that you have a B level but not a C1 level, what exam would you recommend to do, the B2 or the C1? I think that if you feel that you are most comfortable with a B2 exam, sit the B2 first exam. And then when you are ready for C1, go for C1 advanced. If you want to wait until C1 advanced because that's your objective, well, go for that. But I think it's important that you feel comfortable with the exam you are sitting, because that's that's how you will be able to make the most of your abilities. Okay, so we've got mock exams, we've got a lot of material for you to check and see the level you feel more comfortable with. And of course, if you are attending lessons, it's something that you can check with your teacher. But I would definitely recommend feeling comfortable with the level you are sitting. Link to the handout. Hold on a second. I'm going to go to the end and you can scan it again. Nina is asking about useful material to prepare for C2. David Bradshaw, who is in the chat box answering lots of questions, will be giving a session on C2 proficiency on the 20th of March. So I think that the best thing I can say is come to the session if you can, watch the recording. And because I'm sure he will go through resources and materials that you can use and will give you plenty of ideas. But I think for C2, reading again, becoming familiar or using as many resources as you can, authentic material is there for you. So I think that's probably, I mean, in my experience preparing for C2, watching TV, listening to the radio, practicing writing, of course, reading books, but not adapted at all. I think that was what was most useful for me. Does the overall score matter aside from assigning your CFR level? Well, the overall score is what we use to decide if the person has passed or failed or has reached a grade B or a grade C. Okay, it's true that we also break it down by skill, because that's also useful in case you want to see where you are stronger at, what you need to maybe improve more. So it offers different type of information. Valentin is asking about options of highlighting and dealing with texts in the reading and use of English paper if you are taking the exam on a computer. Check our mock exams and sample papers available online, because you will be able to see what is possible to do. And also you can also check with your exam center, and they will be able to give you exact information about what is possible and what isn't possible. But the system has improved a lot, and there is a lot that you can do when engaging with the text in the reading paper. Pablo is asking about the apps and the resources that are free. Pablo, you've got everything in the handout. You can check it out there. Patricia is asking about the best formats, paper-based or computer-based, for a student with visual difficulties. Again, something maybe to check with your exam center. They will be able to give you more information, but sometimes, and David will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes the paper-based format offers more options. And Maria Esther is asking about the variety of English. British English, American English are both accepted. Just try to be consistent when using them. Okay, and I think it's past 7:15, so I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining me and joining us, actually, and for being with us, bearing with the technical issues, and being so engaged in the chat box. It was great to see all your comments. So really, thank you so much. I hope to see you on Thursday without technical issues, and all the best if you're taking the exam soon. Thank you so much.